going on, everybody? What's going on? I want you guys to come into the chat. We're gonna have a really great conversation today. You guys are gonna love this. This is gonna be so much fun, and you guys know, you know how we do in this platform. We have lots of intelligent Black conversations, and so I'm gonna let you guys come into the chat. And you guys like the theme music, so let me play that for a minute, get you guys started here, so we can get ready to start feeling extra Black. All right, guys. Okay, well, how you doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. This is where we have intelligent Black discussions that are thoughtful, open-minded, fearless, fearless, and always Black. I want to say good morning to some of you that are in here. I see, or good afternoon, rather. It may be morning where you're at. Either way. Monique Higdon, how are you? Let's see here. I see Satrina Davis. Hello. Dino says first. Actually, you were second because Satrina's number one, but it's okay. Number two is pretty good too. Code, Philly in the building, Merrillville, Indiana, Columbus, Ohio. Shout out your city. Everybody shout out the city that you're from. Shout out the city. Hit that thumbs up button, please. Also, if you're on Facebook, if you could share this to your page, we're going to have a real intelligent Black conversation. Y'all know how media is. Media wants to keep us blind, deaf, dumb, and crazy, but we're here to shine the light and to bring Black intelligence back in style again. Let's see here. I see East Harlem in the building, Columbus, Ohio. How you doing, Devin and Jill and Dr. Timothy? Brother, I was wrong. Crypto is a vehicle. Okay, he's already started the conversation. Seattle, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Streamwood, Illinois. I see Indianapolis for Devo, Buckeye, Arizona for Roxanne, Pottstown, Pennsylvania for Martell. Hello from NYC. I see Chicago, Detroit for Nicole. And let's see, Durban, South Africa. Okay, that's good. That's the furthest one so far. Yeah, for anybody who's in the Middle East, I just want to warn you. I think you should probably get the hell out. Because it looks like it's about to go down out there. In fact, I'm going to ask my guest about that because he's a smart guy and he just knows a little bit about everything. And you guys are going to love this brother. His name is Dr. Randal Pinkett. Tell me yes or no, yes or no, yes or no if you've ever watched any episodes of The Apprentice. I assume most of you have. Give me a yes or no if you've seen The Apprentice or if you've seen Dr. Pinkett. If you have not seen Dr. Pinkett, and I'm going to call him Dr. Pinkett because he is a real Dr. Pinkett, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Dr. Pinkett was the winner on The Apprentice. He didn't just show up to play. He kicked everybody's ass. And also, Dr. Pinkett has a PhD in computer science from MIT. So please, before we even get it cracking up in here, before I even ask Dr. Pinkett how he's doing today, I want to celebrate this Black excellence that's in the building, and just let this. Y'all. I hope y'all will let this brother know. Give him a digital round of applause, because you guys have no idea. You guys have no idea. Some of you may have an idea, but many of us don't have any idea just how torturous a PhD program is, especially if you went to a real school that really pushes its students. So without further ado, I'd like to ask my brother, Dr. Pinkett, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Dr. Boyce. Good to be on your program. It's long overdue. I'm excited for the conversation and just want to thank you for the introduction and for all the work that you do. So let's jump in.
All right. Yeah. And so you guys know also like PhD programs, I'm curious. Actually, I want to start right there. So was I always believe, like Dr. Alicia and I, our theory is that if you don't have at least like one or two traumatic stories to tell about your doctoral experience, you didn't go through a real program. So let me ask you this. Did you go through any experience that tortured you, like maybe keeps you up at night to this day? Did you have any experiences like that at MIT?
Well, for me, the PhD was always a goal for me, Dr. Watkins, and I had a very non-linear path to get there. So when I graduated Rutgers, I knew I wanted to get my doctorate. And I was blessed to have been awarded the Rhodes Scholarship. I was the first African-American from Rutgers to get the Rhodes Scholarship, which meant all expenses paid to Oxford, but I was already accepted to MIT. I deferred MIT as a fallback and said, I'm going to do my doctorate at Oxford. When I got to Oxford, I realized that they were not a powerhouse in engineering and science, much like MIT. And so as a result, I spent the first year learning that, the second year transitioning back to the US. And I took a master's degree at Oxford. Now here's where the rub came. I came back to the States and MIT would not allow me to qualify for the PhD because my master's at Oxford didn't have any coursework. You know, the British system is tutorials, it's not courses. And so without any coursework, I couldn't go directly into the PhD program. I had to do another master's. And so in having to do another master's, yes, exactly, I actually opted for a dual master's program at MIT, an MS and an MBA at the same time. So you can imagine what that was like, doing a master's in engineering and an MBA in the same 2 years. It would take people to do one degree. And then I qualified to go into the PhD program. I went into the doctoral program in media arts and sciences at the MIT Media Lab, which just got in the headlines for accepting money from Epstein. But that was my path to the PhD. So it took me past undergrad. I ended up getting 3 masters before I got the PhD. And so I ended up with 5 degrees, including my bachelor's degree. Yeah.
Wow. You know, when you talk about nonlinear paths, so I mean, I think I wonder how common that is because, you know, I definitely feel like I took a nonlinear path. I mean, it's never what you think it's going to be most of the time. I find, you know, it's like maybe, I don't know, maybe like climbing Mount Everest or something, and you think it's going to go a certain way, but then the weather changes and whatever, but you're determined to get there. So you just adjust as the weather changes. And I went through that experience, and it was a lot of ups and downs because, you know, here you're starting something and you're used to, you know, regular people don't go for PhDs in difficult fields at difficult schools. You know, typically you've already been a high achiever in other areas. You know, like you, I'm sure, were doing incredibly well, which got you into the Rhodes Scholarship, right? And so, you know, it's a little bit humbling when you're used to sort of operating here, and then you get a situation where they knock you down a couple notches, and you know, and I went through that. I mean, when I was an undergrad, I just blew away everybody and everything. I was the top Black student on campus. I was the top finance student on campus. I got 2 bachelor's degrees in 4 years, and I could have got 3. I just got a little lazy my senior year. I didn't want to do the last 6 hours, you know. So I'm sitting there thinking I can do anything, right? And it's very humbling. It's like going from being a college all-star to playing in the NBA, and they got you on the bench. And you're like, I don't know how to play on the bench, you know? And so you go through a lot of soul searching, man. And so I commend you, brother. I really commend you. And as we move forward, I want you guys to know, if you just came in, I was speaking with Dr. Randal Pinkett. Dr. Pinkett was not just the winner on The Apprentice many years ago, which we'll talk about in a second. He's also the author of a new book. The new book is called Black Faces in White Places. And his website is randalpinkett.com, Randal with 1 L. There's the book right there. And I'm going to definitely ask you about this book as well. So let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the biggest question I think everybody wants to know. I don't know. Maybe you've gotten this question. I don't know. I'm wondering. There's a guy by the name of Donald Trump that you know, created the show The Apprentice. And I presume you had a lot of interaction with him during the show. And then, you know, now he's president and he's not exactly popular in the Black community. Let me ask you this, and I want everybody to hear all this with an open mind, because I literally have no idea what Dr. Pink is going to say, and I encourage you to just speak your truth. What would you say would be the difference, if any, between knowing him, you know, as a contestant on the show or as an individual versus knowing him as the public persona that everybody else sees?
Well, let me give a little history for your listeners and your watchers that may not have any introduction to me or The Apprentice or my participation on The Apprentice. So there were 7 seasons of The Apprentice. That's the original Apprentice, not Celebrity, when there were unknowns, business people, entrepreneurs competing to run one of Donald Trump's companies. I was season 4 of the show. I was the winner of season 4. And by virtue of winning, I ran one of his companies for a year. I won in 2005. I worked for him in 2006. Now, one little footnote that somebody watching remembers this. In my finale, Trump asked me to share the title with a white woman runner-up. And I told him I am not having it. I said, there will be only one winner tonight, and it's going to be me. He said, is that how you want it? I said, that's how I want it. He said, okay, then that's how it will be. But it was a racist move. And many people asked in my finale, I should say, it was many white people who asked, well, why didn't you share? And my response to them was the better question. The question is not to ask, why didn't I share? The question to ask is, why did he ask me to share? Because of the 7 seasons, there were 3 before me, all white. There were 3 after me, all white. And he never asked any of them to share the title, including Kwame Jackson, who many say should have won season 1, except for me. So when you have the only black winner of 7 seasons and you ask him to share, I can only attribute that at the time to either racial insensitivity or racism. But now that I've seen the pattern of Donald in his campaign and his presidency, I'm convinced that it was racism. There's no ambiguity in my mind in 2019 versus 2005. So now having won, I worked for him. I had a chance to see him at much closer distance. And I often say nowadays that working for Donald is like working for somebody with bad breath. The closer you get, the worse the experience becomes.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I asked you not to hold anything back. Are y'all satisfied? Did y'all get the answer? That's it. That tells me a lot, because I've always tried to figure out, what's really going on. I don't believe media hype one way or the other. I believe in politics, the other party's always the devil, no matter what. I go into some of my relatives' houses and they play Fox News on repeat, and everything about the Democratic Party is satanic or whatever. Then I go into my friend's house and they've got MSNBC on repeat. Same thing is being said about the other side. So I'm always curious to know, what will really happen behind the scenes. So I think that the fact that you laid it out that way, I don't know. Tell me yes or no, guys. Does this kind of clarify things a little bit for you? I think that's the huge amount of clarity you provided. Thank you for that. So let's talk about that then. Okay, so when you were on The Apprentice and when you went into this competition, first of all, what led you to even consider going on to the show?
Actually, my then wife was a big fan of the show, and she, out of the blue, said, I think you should go on The Apprentice. And I had not really even seen the show. And my response was, I'm not interested in going on a reality television show. I had just finished my doctorate. I graduated 2002. And then we got married 2004. And she had just moved in. We just moved in together. And that's when the idea came out of her head. And to make another long story short, she found the application. She downloaded it. She printed it out. She made me fill it out. She made me send it in. And I told her, this is a complete waste of time. Lo and behold, I got a call from producers. I did an on-camera interview. I got through a background check. I got flown to Los Angeles. I spent a week in LA for the final casting process, and they actually selected me for the show. And I honestly had no expectation of being selected. And so having been chosen, I asked myself the question, well, why not? The show was at its height. I mean, there were 21 million people, I think, who saw the finale of season 1. It's like 1 in 5 Americans, or one out of 4 Americans. And I was early in my entrepreneurial career. Again, I joined my firm full time, BCT Partners, 2002. This was 2004. So I said, you know what? This might open doors. I don't even know what doors it might open, but let's seize the opportunity. Let's do it. And I ended up with 18 million people who applied, and then a million people who applied, 18 people who were chosen to compete. I ended up winning. So I got to give her credit. It wasn't my idea. I take no credit for it.
Well, okay. So one question I have then is, what do you think led your application to stand out I mean, well, first of all, the PhD in computer science from MIT, that I assume that played some part in this, but even beyond that, I mean, there's lots there. I guess from a numerical standpoint, right? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have PhDs from MIT, right? So even that is not enough to make you that one guy or of that 4 or 5 people, right? So what do you think, in addition to that, led you to stand out in the crowd?
Yeah, so let me give you a little insight to the casting process. So I mentioned that I spent a week in Los Angeles. The first half of the week was a series of tests and examinations and assessments. So we did a psychiatric review, psychological evaluation, a physical exam, a deviant behavior test. I mean, there was a series of assessments by professionals to understand what makes you tick. And then they brought you in a room with all of these doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, medical doctor, and they tell you who they think you are. And guess what? They got me spot on. And they said, here's who we think you are. And I was like, you got me. Like, you got me. So then the second half of the week is interviews, one-on-one with producers, 3 producers on one, 3 contestants with 1 producer. And then Trump and Mark Burnett came the last day to make the final selection. Now, why do I tell you this to answer your question? Because I'm convinced in retrospect that there were 2 kinds of people they were looking for in the formulated casting process of The Apprentice, and all reality shows have a formula. The formula was, we want half of the contestants we think could actually win. They're competent, they're successful, they're A-types, they're MIT PhDs. And then the other half of the contestants, they know are off center, that they're cuckoo, and the challenge is to figure out which category do you fall in. So I think what actually did it for me was a combination of 2 things. One was my resume. I'd been an entrepreneur. I'd launched 3 companies at the time. I was running my 5th venture, BCT Partners, which is still around today. But the other thing was, back when I was an undergrad, I was involved with an organization called the National Society of Black Engineers. And I was the NSBE Member of the Year as an undergrad, and I was a regional officer and a national executive board member. But they did a commercial when I was involved with NSBE to promote African Americans in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. And Heavy D narrated the ad, and I was featured in the ad. So when I did the audition process for The Apprentice, there's 2 ways to get chosen. You can either do a video or go to a casting call. I missed the casting call. I did a video. I put in the Heavy D clip, and the producers were like, yo, that's Heavy D. I want to talk to this guy.
Oh man, wow, brother. That's a fascinating story, man. You outshined the hell out of me at the FraserNet conference, man. When we had the, in case you guys don't know, by the way, I'm talking to Dr. Randal Pinkett. Dr. Pinkett is the author of the book Black Faces in White Places. He's also one of The Apprentice, and you are the CEO and founder of your company. What's your company called?
Founder and CEO of BCT Partners, and we are a consulting firm specialized in strategy, training, technology, analytics, and we just made the Black Enterprise 100 this year.
Nice. Now, say the what you said.
BCT Partners. Boy Charlie Pound. BCTPartners.com.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I remember that. I didn't want to mistakenly call you BET Partners. All right, so there's a big difference. All right, so I think So in case you guys don't know, we did at the FraserNet conference, which everybody should go to. Dr. George C. Fraser runs that. He's a brilliant man. He's been on the channel, and you guys loved him, and you'll love him even more in person. But they had kind of a celebrity auction sort of thing where people can bid on time with somebody that can, that they just want to spend time around, right? So it's a little bit like a celebrity auction, a little bit more maybe based on your brain as well as who you are. And so George asked me to participate, and I was like, okay, I've never been auctioned before. I don't know what to do. Like, am I supposed to take my shirt off, dance a little bit? I've been working out. I didn't know, right? And it was funny because I was sitting there, I was watching. So George is first. Then Michael C. Roberts, the billionaire, it was next, and then you were next, and he had this great video that just was super cool, and I'm sitting here like, damn, that's really cool. I wish I had a video. I don't have anything, And I don't know, it was an interesting experience, man. How did you feel up there? Have you done that? Like, you do that like every year with them, or is that like the first time you did it?
Well, let me just say, Dr. Watkins, I can sympathize and empathize with your position, because the first year I did the auction at the Power Networking Conference, FraserNet, I didn't know I was being auctioned. I was called on stage with my name already in the program, unbeknownst to me. And I was just trying to figure out what in the world have I signed myself up for or not signed myself up for. I'm like, to your point, am I supposed to dance? Should I be out here doing some kind of performance? I was like, what in the world you got me into, George? It was very uncomfortable and very awkward, and just the idea of blacks being auctioned like that alone messes with your mind, even though it's for charity, it's for a good purpose. But I know my ancestors were talking in my ear like, yo, do you really want to be auctioned?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was willing to be auctioned for a good cause. And I know that those proceeds were for young people. So they could come to the conference. I thought that was great. And, I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, maybe somebody will bid $50 for me. But actually, I think I fetched in the 5,000 something.
You did good. No, you represented.
I did okay. Since y'all want to know, I did all right. See, there's people out there that want to see me. Anyway, so let me ask you this question, man. Let's jump into the next topic. I want to ask you about this. Okay, so you mentioned that The Apprentice did things for your career, did things for your business, or you expected it would, and I assume that it did. What are some of the things that it did for you? Like, how did it kind of accelerate things for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question. I want to also just echo what you said. For those listening, learn about the Power Networking Conference. It's a great place to be. Boyce, Dr. Watkins and I were there. We want to see you there in Houston next year. So I was in my early 30s when I did the show, mid 30s when I did the show, much less experienced than I am now. It was 14 years ago I did the show. And I just assumed that if I'm on some nationally televised program, the doors of opportunity are going to just be wide open. Well, I was wrong. I'm in a business that's very relationship driven. Now, I don't know many businesses that aren't relationship driven, but I know my business is very relationship driven. And my challenge is getting to decision makers with budgets. I run a consulting firm, technology, analytics, training, strategy. And so people with budgets weren't like, oh, you were on reality show. Let me call you up and hire you to develop my strategy for my Fortune 500. No. But what it did do is it gave me a platform. I did get calls to speak. I did get calls to write. I did get calls to make appearances. I did get calls as a media personality on CNN or MSNBC, the list goes on. And so that was able to get me in the company of decision makers. I'm speaking to executives. I'm now in the company of corporate managers. I'm writing a book targeted at leaders. I'm on television as a subject matter expert on technology or the economy or business. And as I'm branding myself and I'm exposing myself, now I'm meeting people and now I'm able to talk to them one-on-one to engender the relationship, the confidence, the credibility to say, can we do business? So it took a while to incubate from TV to contract. I'd say probably about 3 or 4 years before I actually saw the tangible fruits of the appearance to the company's bottom line. But we were able to capitalize. And to this day, the reason why I'm at Power Networking Conference, the reason why I'm talking to you is because of The Apprentice. Let's keep it real. That's why. Not my PhD from MIT, but The Apprentice.
Man, I think that's a great point. My brother runs a speakers bureau called Great Black Speakers, and he runs into a lot of people that have, these lofty credentials. I went to medical school at Harvard, stuff like that. And they assume that because they went to medical school at Harvard, that they're going to get all these, speaking engagements and things like that. And they don't understand that, it's really about, branding and connection, right? Whether it's the public brand or the personal brand, everybody has when people see you and they interact with you, even on a personal level, you have a brand in their mind. Like, what do you see? And I think that those who, just kind of have the credentials and say, hey, I went to school for a long time, that makes me special. It does give you, a foot in the door, right? It means something. but it doesn't mean what people think. In fact, you think about, for example, even in my arena, the financial arena, there are a lot of people who would have listened to a Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman before they would listen to a lot of PhDs in finance, right? Why? Well, because they have brands. They have formed a relationship with the customer. They have other relationships as well. And I think that's important to know. And I also like what you said about the Power Networking Conference. What I like about the Power Networking Conference is that it allows for really great networking for Black people who really enjoy networking with people who look like them. It's a space where it's not just sort of stereotypical Blackness one way or the other. There's a wide diversity of mindsets, and the unifying theme is we're all Black. We all want to be powerful. We're all here for business. Let's figure out how to make this thing go. And I almost felt when I was there, I don't think I've ever felt more powerful at any conference I've ever gone to than that one. I mean, and I'm including, the big ones, whether it's the CBC, NAACP, nothing's wrong with those. Those are fine. But this conference made me feel like I was around people that really get it, in terms of what Black economic power really looks like. Can you kind of speak to that in your own perspective?
No, you and I are on the same page, Dr. Watkins. I've been to all the same conferences that you've been to, NAACP, Urban League, CBC, take your pick. The Power Networking Conference, and I'm chair of the board of FraserNet. So I'm not just selling the Kool-Aid, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. The Power Networking Conference, from my first appearance there, struck me as the only Black event that I've been to where people come expecting to invest in themselves. That's number one, that they're there to invest in themselves. And there's a mindset of investing in others to help uplift our community. And so you have very entrepreneurially accomplished individuals that have come to make connections with people that can help to amplify an agenda that's beyond just their individual agenda, that there's something broader to this idea that you've been at the forefront of economic empowerment, and not to come learn about it, although some of us did come to learn, but to be about it and to act on it and to strategize on it and to invest in it and to be real about it and to look at ways that we can actually begin to transact and do business and support each other. Like that kind of ethos, that spirit of Kuji Chagulia, like however you want to term it, like that's in the room in the Power Networking Conference. And it's hard to find other places that replicate that spirit. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What really impressed me was all the conversations about putting together delegations and sort of developing lines of trade with Africa. I really fell in love with that part of the conversation, even more than all the other great things that happened. I remember the sister that's the head of the African delegation.
I know who you're talking about. James Pierce, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, she gave a great speech, and I mean, it brought me to tears. It was, it was like she's saying, come home. We want you to, if you're in the diaspora, come home to Africa, come home to Africa. And it affected me because it was like one of those few times where I realized, wait a minute, I don't really have a home. Like I don't feel connected to anything, but I feel connected to this. This is great. Can you kind of speak to that in terms of, the thinking with yourself and others, on the board about sort of developing those channels in relationships in Africa? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so for those that are watching and listening, Dr. George C. Fraser is the founder of FraserNet. It bears his name. The Power Networking Conference is the flagship event for the organization. And then there's also the newly established Fraser Nation, which is this global nation that's really around wealth building. And part of that conversation, to your point, Dr. Watkins, has been looking at the global Pan-African economic ecosystem that exists between the US and Africa, but also other parts of the globe. And how do we begin to reconnect, not just socially or politically, but how do we reconnect economically? And so it's and also ideologically and culturally. So it's a combination of how do we reconnect to the motherland from an identity, social, cultural perspective, But now in this global economy, how do we build bridges that can also help to foster economic opportunity between African Americans or Blacks in America and Africans on the continent? And we all agreed, and you agree, that this is one of the untapped opportunities that's sitting at our doorstep. And so the doorstep and the door is actually very apropos, because we are at the door of having all these opportunities and the technology and the systems to be able to transact. The only thing missing is now getting back to where we were a moment ago, is the relationships, is forging relationships between those of us that are here in the US and those that are in Africa who were represented at the conference, so that we can begin doing business together.
By the way, everybody, if you just came in, I'm speaking with Dr. Randal Pinkett. Dr. Pinkett is the CEO and founder of BCT Partners. He also is the author of the book Black Faces in White Places. He has a PhD in computer science. I was going to say economics. So actually, the other, Dr. Julian Malveaux has a PhD in economics from MIT. He has a PhD in computer science from MIT, and he's a brilliant brother. He's also chairman of the board with FraserNet. You guys have seen George C. Fraser come on about once a month on the channel to talk to you guys about networking and all the other wonderful things you can do with your lives. Do me a favor right now, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, if you have not done this yet, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we go live. It's very important that you hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that bell and you'll be notified every time we go live. And please hit the thumbs up button. If you're on Facebook, please share this to your page. And I want to remind everybody that the All Black National Convention happens the weekend of September 27th. So if you want to learn more, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And Dr. Pinkett is going to be invited to the next All Black National Convention. Just so you know, we'll invite you. But yeah, it's at some point we'll get it on your schedule. If not that year, then that's fine. We can move it to next year. But I want you there, brother. I love to make sure you're welcome there. Okay, so let me ask you this. Your book, Black Faces in White Places. There you go. There, you guys can see the book right there. Tell me about your book. What inspired it, and what can I learn from reading the book? It looks like I see something. Is that bestseller at the top?
Oh, it says that's the subtitle: 10 game-changing strategies to achieve success and find greatness. Okay,
tell us about it.
Yeah, so Black Faces in White Places, I co-authored with my college roommate, my longtime friend, and my business partner, Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, professor at Rutgers Business School. And we went out and interviewed dozens of accomplished African Americans who reached the heights of their industry, CEOs, executive directors, principals of schools, journalists. So we interviewed Benjamin Jealous, NAACP, Roland Martin, then it was with CNN. Don Thompson was then president of McDonald's. Angela Glover Blackwell, who ran PolicyLink out in Oakland, California. Otis Moss Jr. The list goes on and on. Hill Harper. And tried to understand, how did they make it to that level within their industry? But more importantly, how did they do it without losing a sense of who they are? How did they not give up anything of their cultural identity, of their ethnicity, of all the things that make them who they are in reaching the upper echelons of their field? And what could they offer to those of us who aspire to do the same, so that when we make it to the top, we are able to stay true to who we are? And so the patterns that we heard in the interviews, the things we kept hearing over and over again through the interviews, gave rise to what we call the 10 game-changing strategies. That are these 10 cumulative strategies that build upon each other, that are a blueprint or a roadmap for how one can, for example, maintain or establish a strong identity and purpose, or demonstrate excellence, or build diverse and solid relationships, or find strength in numbers, or give back generously. And I'm running down some of the strategies right now. These are the things that we learned that we're passing on to the next generation. So that what we don't want is, we don't want people like you and me or our younger versions of ourselves to feel like in order to make it, you have to deny your Blackness, or you have to give up of your culture, or you have to be someone other than who you are. But no, quite the contrary. What we're arguing is, hold on to all the things that make you you, because not only does that give you your own unique competitive advantage, but it also allows you to stay true to yourself, that when you make it, you can look in the mirror and be proud of who you see.
Mm. Well, what's interesting is, when you say that, I've always felt that, that really understanding, accepting, and loving who you are is one of the untold secrets to success. We think that that's something that we shouldn't do, right? We should let that go and transform ourselves so we can fit in. And I didn't really find, I think I had modest success, by hiding the bulk of who I was. But, being who I was actually was my key to extreme success. That's what was the game changer in terms of, me navigating the world. And because if you think about it, you get compensated in the world for being really good at what you do, right? Whatever that is. And being good at something requires a level of passion and fearlessness when it comes to sort of just charging full speed, no hesitation. Like you think about a comedian telling a joke. If he hesitates or gets nervous, the joke ain't gonna work, right? Say, you're a dancer, a basketball player, whatever it is, right? A football player that hesitates is gonna get his head knocked off, right? And, but somebody who kind of goes hard, thinks it through, knows what their strategy is and pursues it with reckless abandon, but calculated risk. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I know that I'm charging hard, but I know exactly what I want. That to me gives you your best shot at success. And so, I can tell you my journey, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but in my own personal journey, which actually the inflection point was when I was about 28 years old, actually. Literally the worst year of my life, believe it or not. But it's like during those dark moments that you figure out who you are, right? And but the turning point of the big moment was, when I just sort of said, wait a minute, what's wrong with being who I am? Who said that that's a bad thing, right? Maybe white supremacy told me that or something, but that's not true. Who I am is okay. You're a good person. You're a hardworking person. And you got a natural monopoly on, like I had a monopoly on being Boyce Watkins. So then I said, wait a minute, I think that my strategy for success is to figure out who Boyce is, what I can live with and really love him, warts and all, like just love him, just unabashed, just complete total love, like no hesitation at all. And then be the best version of Boyce Watkins that I could possibly be. And I can tell you that was the secret in terms of me being able to really live out a lot of my dreams. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is wisdom. That's what that is. That's wisdom. And I have a similar story. And to the extent that I wish I had come to that place of knowing that being my best self would allow me to accomplish more than if I was trying to be somebody else or trying to adapt or trying to assimilate to others' expectations or corporate culture or however you want to term it. That I think once I came to that place that you came to, that I needed to be who I am meant to be and step into my identity, step into my purpose, step into my calling. Had I known that earlier, I'd be even much further along. And there's a book that inspired us called The Rage of a Privileged Class by Ellis Coase. And, Coase interviewed African Americans of the 60s, 70s who came through corporate America and asked them to reflect on their experience. And as the title suggests, The Rage of a Privileged Class, there was an anger not only at the frustration of trying to navigate corporations and institutions that weren't ready for them, but also what those corporations and institutions asked them to have to become in order to succeed. And so, in other words, if you feel like you have to sacrifice so much of yourself to succeed, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You'd be much better served to be true to who you are and find some place more accepting of that than to fight the fight to be something other than that, only to realize you've given up your soul. And it wasn't worth it in the first place. So you and I are on the same page. And we wrote the book with that very intention to give examples, role models, quotations, life stories of people who made it, but guess what? They made it and they're still true to who they are.
You know, I'll tell you, I love that, you know, and I can tell you what happens to people who spend their whole life pretending. You know, you end up drinking too much, you know, using drugs, you know, beating your wife, you know, whatever, end up in the insane asylum or whatever, because that will drive you crazy. I mean, I think living a lie will drive you insane. And so I say to everybody out here, you know, remember, this conversation is not about us. It's about you and supporting you in your journey. Figure out who you are and be okay with loving that person. Ain't nobody out here better than you. You know, they just might be they might know a couple things that might be a little further along in certain areas. But if you have the right attitude and you keep giving your best shot every single day of the week and you never give up, you will be successful at something. You know, you just have to believe that. So I'm going to before I let you get back to your busy day, I would like to, give you the last word and ask you, BCT Partners, I'm really curious about that. Tell us brag about your company a little bit. You said you made the Black Enterprise 100. Is that correct? Okay. And, which is awesome. Everybody clap for that. Please give this brother a digital round of applause. So tell us about the company, what you do, what's led to your growth. You know, just feel free to just freestyle on that.
Absolutely. I am so proud of what we've been able to accomplish at BCT Partners. So the company was founded by me and three of my Rutgers College classmates. Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, who co-authored Black Faces in White Places, who was my roommate at college. And then we were assigned to mentor two first-year students when we were in our second year. I was assigned to Lawrence Hibbert. He was assigned to Dallas Grundy. The four of us formed a bond. We came up through the National Society of Black Engineers. We caught the entrepreneurial bug in college. We launched our first venture as students at Rutgers. And we are now 25 years in as entrepreneurs, 5 ventures. And next year at BCT, we will celebrate 20 years in business for BCT Partners. And I'm proud to say we're not just still business partners, we're still friends. And so our mission at BCT is to provide insights about diverse people that lead to equity. To provide insights about diverse people that lead to equity. And there's 3 key words in there: insights, diversity, and equity. From an equity standpoint, we are at the front lines of helping organizations to achieve health equity, equity in housing, economic justice, equity in education, for services that support children and families, all the things that help communities thrive. We are developing the expertise around how to accomplish that. From a diversity standpoint, we realize that we're living in increasingly diverse times and that organizations are wrestling with how to best support, best service, best sell to that very diversity. From an insights perspective, we provide a multidisciplinary set of services: training, facilitation, strategy, technology, analytics, all of which help our customers develop data-driven strategies to move the needle on equity. So we work with housing authorities, we work with hospitals and healthcare systems, government agencies in the public sector, schools located in communities, all working toward a more equitable society through the supports that BCT provides. And as you mentioned a moment ago, we were proud this year to make it to the Black Enterprise 100 of the largest Black-owned businesses in the country. We came in at number 92, and now we're climbing the list.
All right, man. Well, you know, I think I'm going to give you a round of applause on that. Everybody cheer for this brother. I'll tell you, we all spend all your time cheering for rappers. So if we're going to cheer for rappers, we need to cheer for Black men who are rapping about job creation, you know, who are rapping about wealth building, who are rapping about building businesses. So you guys are, in fact, this is my last question, actually, because I think everybody in here can learn something from this. You guys started this, you said back in a little bit after college. Like you met in college, and then that formed your relationship that led to the creation of the business, correct?
That's right.
Okay, you know, and I think that's important to understand because, you don't see a lot of that, right? You see a lot of very smart people go to college together, and then everybody goes their separate ways so they can all get a job working for God knows who, right? And I think the new model for black people, but especially the black man in America, particularly the employment issues that black men face, which I think exceed that of almost any other group. The new model for black men should be to come together. Like you think about molecules and atoms that spread apart and become a gas, and then they come together and become a solid. I failed, just so you know, I didn't do well in chemistry and physics and all that, but I'm assuming it's something like that, right? So we need to come together and form a damn solid. Because y'all spreading out, you're black men, I'm serious. We out here spreading out, going in different directions. I'm gonna work for that white guy. I wanna work for that man. My mess are over here, and we spread out and we become a gas. We become a liquid, right? And nobody respects a liquid. Black men are meant to be solid. And what I like about it, I don't even know if all the individuals with the company, the founders are all black. I'm making that assumption, but even if it's not true, that's okay. But I think whoever is in your circle, whoever is in your economic family, come together, form a solid. If you learn the basics of what it takes to build a business, to start an enterprise, and you'd be amazed at what you can create. Because I assume you guys are doing better running this company wealth-wise than any of you individually ever would have been, just working for somebody else. So let me ask that question, or I guess be more specific in that question then. What was it about mindset that led you to go in that direction? Because I assume that there were great jobs waiting for all of you. What led you all to come together and say, let's do our own thing?
Yes, I want to riff off a couple of things you said, and I'm going to answer the question. You talk about cheering for hip hop and rappers and athletes and the like. I often talk to other entrepreneurs about the very topic you just addressed. And I asked them, I said, how many groups like R&B hip hop groups do you think reached the top 10 of the music charts over the past few years? Like, let's just take, I have it right here in front of me. I pulled it out. Like 2013, those of you listening and watching, how many groups you think made the top 10 on the charts? Like R&B hip hop. The answer is 0. The answer for 2014, 0. 2015, 0. And the list goes on. Now, if I ask that same question from 1965, how many groups made the top 10? Temptations, the Supremes, the Four Tops, the Jackson 5, the list goes on. Where did all the groups go? Now, why am I highlighting this? Because we have gone from a culture societally that more easily comes together and stays together to a culture that's more hyper-focused on the individual. Mm. And that's not just in music, but it's also in business. Nobody wants to be a background dancer. Nobody wants to be second or third from the spotlight, much like nobody today intuitively thinks of a team when they think of an entrepreneurial success. You think of Oprah, you think of Steve Jobs, you think of Mark Zuckerberg, you don't think of Steve Wozniak, who was with Jobs. You don't think of Sergey Brin and Larry Page, who founded Google. You don't think of Jeff Jacobs, who worked with Oprah for years to help her own her own show. Every success was a team. Dr. Watkins will tell you, before we came on, I saw his team. It wasn't just him. It was his team. So where am I going? There's a mindset that you're now asking me about that we're losing or have lost that we need to recapture, which dates back to our cultural origins, which is about coming together and staying together. And you talked before about finding your truth, me finding my truth. It's knowing your position and playing your position. I'm not trying to be Lawrence. That's my business partner. He's not trying to be me. Jeffrey's not trying to be Dallas. Dallas isn't trying to be Lawrence. We all had a role on the team. We loved each other, we respected each other, and we realized that we could do more together than we could do apart. So the message to all your listeners and watchers is, if you're even thinking, or you're already in business, or you want to build wealth, and you're thinking that you can go it alone, you are fooling yourself. And even if you could do it alone, I guarantee you, and this is biblical, that you will do more with somebody else than you could ever do by yourself. End of sentence.
Wow. Well, those are some great words for us to finish with, man. I think that's absolutely 100% true. And that's what I so appreciate George Fraser for. And I know Dr. Claude Anderson, when he teaches Powernomics, he says economics is a team sport. Dr. Frazier, in his special way, speaks of the importance of developing relationships. And, if you want to put yourself first, you got to put first. You have to do that, form those good relationships so that you can build that team around you. And he practices what he preaches. And so I hope everybody gets something from that. Find your team, find your crew, find your group of people that you can depend on, and build that team carefully and work together and love each other and learn how to manage and nurture relationships so that you can build together. And then when you run into conflicts, you'll know how to resolve the conflicts and you won't see everything fall apart. When there's war, there's destruction. When there's peace, there's prosperity. So don't go to war with people you love. Like, oh, I'm mad at him, I'm not talking to him no more. Like, don't do that. You don't burn bridges unless you're ready to face those long-term consequences. And so I love what you said, man. I love the passion, and I'd love to have you back, brother, at some point at your convenience. We're connected, man, and then also, so it's two-way street. So if I don't hit you up, you feel free to just text me. You text me, you're in. I assume you guys agree with me. You guys want me to bring him back at some point. I hope you guys learned something today. Please give my brother, Dr. Randal Pinkett, a digital round of applause. Please thank him for his time. This brother is a CEO, and he's running a big company called BCT Partners, which is in the BE 100. So his time is valuable, but he took this time to bring it back to the people, and that's what we need. He's an excellent leader, and I'm going to give you the name of his book. The name of his book is Black Faces in White Places. I hope you guys will support the book and tell people about it, share it to your social media. His website is randalpinkett.com with one L, randalpinkett.com. And last but not least, just some quick housekeeping reminders for you guys. Number one, please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. If you're on Facebook, please share this to your page. We need your help to spread the message of Black intelligence throughout the world. Number two, if you want to build your economic future, we have specialists waiting on the line to talk to you about your personal economic plan at theblackbusinessschool.com, theblackbusinessschool.com. So call them up or email them or just go to the website and talk to them. They're ready to chat with you right now. Number three, All Black National Convention, weekend of September 27th. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, more specifically, if you're looking for the other part of your economic team, we're doing a day-long investing seminar in New York City on October 27th. You can go to drboycenewyork.com. We're going to do an elevator pitch competition as well, where you can pitch your business to the group. And anybody who likes your business can come and connect with you and invest in the company right then. And you'll be in the room with difference makers and people that actually have money that they're willing to invest in good ideas. So it's a good way for us to not just learn, but to build an economy. So that's drboycenewyork.com. So thank you very much, brother. I appreciate your time. It was awesome talking to you.
Likewise, Dr. Watkins. My pleasure. I look forward to coming back.
Yes, sir. All right. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon. And I'll talk to you soon, Dr. P. All right.